Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is not going to be canon or cannot because it's from the Japanese exclusive ending to Crash Bash, which was called Crash Carnival. So right off the bat, in my opinion, none of these are canon. But a YouTuber, Pawn Star Hero, he posted a translation video of the endings of this game, but he even said that he wasn't sure it was 100% accurate and if there are mistakes in it to let him know. But I figured I'd just get my friend who speaks Japanese to translate it for me. So rather than trying to get him to update his video from years ago by sending him a link, I just decided I'd remake the video entirely. So props to him for the images that I'm getting, but the translations are from my friend, and I'm going to pin him in a comment so you could reach out to him if you want to get some translations done too. Without further ado, we're just going to jump into it, and I'm going to have the actual translations played for you guys. And I'll probably speak a little bit about them after each one is done. Okie doke, let's jump into it with crashes. Thanks to Crash's hard work, the evil mask, Uka Uka, was sealed in another dimension. Maybe. Probably. Forever. You really did it, Crash. That voice, could it be the lovely Tana? Right before Crash's eyes, Tana, his lover from long ago, appears smiling. Crash pinches his cheek. If this is a dream, he hopes he never wakes up. So, Crash right now seemed to have been sleeping, and he woke up from a dream of Tana and sees a adult anthropomorphic female bandicoot with blonde hair, and he just assumes it's Tana. Clearly, it's not Tana, and you'll see in the next epilogue, Coco's, why it isn't Tana. But you can't be too mad at him for thinking that's Tana, because how many other anthropomorphic female blonde bandicoots are walking around? So, I give Crash a pass on that. But okay, let's jump into the next one. Kya-ha-ha! Uka Uka was such a chump. For Coco, a battle with the fate of the world at stake was easy in comparison with fixing bugs in a program. Okay, let's get to work on the program that I had to put on hold. Coco's current passion project is virtual imaging ultra-fast emotion synthesis. I'll take the data from scanning my body, make an age parameter a little more adult-like, and then I'll be ready for my Net Idol debut. So yeah, the Tana Crash thought he saw was actually a hologram of Coco. So Coco wants to be a Net Idol in the Japanese ending. So if they're following off of CTR, where she wanted to start a dating service, I guess the next step from being a dating service owner is being a Net Idol. So she was being a VTuber before VTubers became a thing. So that was that one. I don't think it's really in Coco's, true passion projects. She makes like VR hubs and carts and spaceships and all sorts of stuff, but she doesn't really want to be a Net Idol. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Tiny is strongest after all. Tiny is coolest. Having forgotten he was one of the monsters on Uka Uka's side, Tiny finds himself extremely satisfied with the battle. Tiny will get even cooler. Oh dear, it seems Tiny got too cocky for his own good, and finding a strange bauble nearby, he decided to strike a pose. It seems that strong as he is, he still has no sense for beauty. So the only thing that I really want to touch up on here is, since it doesn't have any further story advancements for Tiny, is just bauble. A bauble is like a knick-knack. So he just found some random knick-knack and decided to strike a pose. So again, it's an epilogue, but it doesn't really further his story at all. He just grabs a knick-knack and makes a pose. Okay, let's move on to the next one. My Yakiniku power takes the win. Dingodile is so happy he dances around with his flamethrower on full power, but having gone overboard with the intensity. Everything around him is charged black. Today's meal is gonna be bitter, baby. In the end, it seems he's actually not a very good cook. So because this is a Japanese ending, it says yakiniku, which is like grilled meat or a barbecue. So pretty much Dingodile is just talking about his barbecue powers. So yakiniku, if I'm saying that correctly, I might not be. It just means barbecue. But I didn't want to change it to barbecue because then it wouldn't be the correct translation. So I just kept it as that. But yeah, again, this doesn't really advance his story at all. He just torched everything with his flamethrower. The one neat thing, though, is it says at the end he isn't a very good cook, and that kind of goes along with his Crash 4 epilogue, where his restaurant gets shut down because he's not a very good cook. Thought that was neat. Okay, we'll jump into the next one. We're going over to the evil side now.
That jerk, Uka Uka, only thinking about himself. But I'm going to conquer the world one more time.
Cortex changed his focus up from what he had been doing and decided to carry out an attack with a giant robot.
Now, return to life, menial labor robot.
It starts to make noise, but didn't move at all.
How strange. It won't move. Maybe I'm missing one more screw. Where did I leave that?
So this ending is kind of neat because all throughout Crash Bash, there were no lab assistants whatsoever. And the menial labor robot almost undoubtedly is a lab assistant. And then if you look at the design of it, it looks like a lab assistant. So by the Japanese continuity's ending, they think Cortex is going to use his giant lab assistant to conquer the world. The neat part about that is in Crash of the Titans. There. I wasn't sure if it was Crash of the Titans or Crash Minerva Mutant. He has the big Doominator robot. So this kind of foreshadows an event that's coming up way later in the franchise. Okay, we're going to jump on to Dr. Embryo now. It seems that I am the champion. I'm finally number one. Despite his inferiority complex regarding Cortex, Brio, having won all on his own for once, decides to take over the world. So then, let's begin. First, just like Rillaroo was born for the genes of Ripperoo, I should try to create something with the genes of the Bandicoot, like Bandaroo. Brio, that idea seems like a surefire failure. So this one, I just completely disagree with everything. It says that Rillaroo was born from the genes of Ripperoo. Nothing about Rillaroo remotely resembles Ripperoo. Not characteristics, not design. The only thing is they're both kangaroo-like characters. So that's just, I feel like, the Japanese team trying to make a connection where there isn't a connection at all. And we already know that Dingodile was made by Cortex and Brio, so it's not that far-fetched to think that he'd want to make another hybrid animal. But there's no proof that he made Rillaroo, nor do we ever see anything like a Bandaroo later in the series. I guess the closest possible thing you could get to a Bandaroo is Pinstripe Potteroo was originally supposed to be a Bandicoot in the original Bible. So he's kind of a Bandicoot and a Potteroo all in one, so he's a Bandaroo. But again, the game wasn't going for that. I just thought that was a little neat Easter egg idea kind of thing. But anyway, we got two more. Let's jump into Koala Kong.
Well, as the world's biggest star, my victory was just the obvious result. Completely obvious.
Koala Kong, the supremely confident celebrity villain, made sure to leave his parting line and return to his movie studio in Hollywood. However, after that, Koala Kong's popularity plummeted. His habit of using such uncool victory pose may have been the reason for that. So this one's neat because it goes along with the CTR epilogue where Koala Kong went to Hollywood and became a movie star. Again, if you watch my other video, I said I think that's semi-canon. I don't think he became like a big megastar. But it's neat. And then as far as his voice for this one, he doesn't really have a voice. So he has one quote from the intro in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled where he was introduced for the Grand Prix. And he just talked about his diet. So I tried to give him a Rocky Balboa sounding voice. Anyway, that's that one, and then we're going to move on to the last one, which is Rillaroo, who also doesn't really have a voice, so I hope you don't think it's too atrocious. Let's get on to the last one. Having won every match through to the end, Rillaroo suddenly pulled out his abacus and began doing calculations.
Once I get my bonus from Uka Uka, how should I spend it? It could be fun to open a yakiniku place with Dingo, but so could becoming Koala Kong's manager and bossing him around. Okay, that's it. I'll open a yakiniku place in Hollywood.
Well, don't count your chickens before they hatch. So that epilogue, he pulls out his abacus to count what he's counting his winnings and seeing what he's going to do in the future. But don't count your chickens before they hatch is because Uka Uka isn't going to pay him. Just because they won doesn't mean he's getting any money. And it's neat that they tried to tie it into the other two epilogues, one with Dingodile barbecuing stuff and Koala Kong going to Hollywood. But don't count your chickens before they hatch. He's not getting any cash from Uka Uka, so he's not going to open a barbecue place with Dingo, and he's not going to be Koala Kong's manager. The only other appearance you see him in is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, and he's boxing Koala Kong. So maybe him and Koala Kong ran out of money, and they just started boxing at circuses. So that was the Crash Bash Japanese exclusive ending epilogues translated, the correct translations. So again, I'm going to put a pinned comment where you can reach my friend and see if he can do some translations for you. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I guess for the secret word of the video, let's say yakiniku. So post yakiniku along with your thoughts and comments about this video. Thank you to everyone who is subscribed and for all the comments and the likes and all that great stuff. And we'll see you next week. Take care.